the whole concept of what we in the freedom movement talk about, it is truly life and liberty. And of course, the founders of this country talked about life and liberty. They didn't talk about welfare and warfare. They talked about life and liberty.
When John and I met about 5 years ago, we agreed that we really cared about peace, and we really cared about eliminating poverty, and we really cared about the environment. We really cared about creating a world in which people could all be happy, well, thriving, and experience the flow state all the time. And as it turns out, we just both happen to be libertarians who believe that a free world in which people can choose their own paths is the world that will give us sustainable peace, prosperity, happiness, and well-being.
A raging battle between capitalism and socialism over the last 50 years. And that battle has now been won. And even a socialist like Robert Heilbroner wrote in the New Yorker after the collapse of the Berlin Wall, the long 50-year battle between capitalism and socialism is over. Capitalism has won.
I've given Muhammad Yunus and the Grameen Foundation a lot of money. I've given some money to the Aga Khan Foundation, people that are involved in microcredit, because I think the way forward for the world is funding entrepreneurs. Increasingly, there are profitable or for-profit microcredit enterprises, and they're going to get the balance of the money that I use in terms of microcredit, because profitable businesses are self-sustaining. It's better than giving money away if you seed an enterprise that goes forward.
In the place of all of these transfer programs, every American citizen upon turning age 21 would begin to receive, deposited electronically into a bank account once per month, a sum of money which over the course of the year would total $10,000 in today's purchasing power.
Since its inception as a descriptive science, economics has been mired in controversy over how to apply its data and theory. Market solutions to social problems are generally received skeptically. Businessmen are distrusted, corporations looked at askance. As well, there is a well-known resentment against those who have most benefited from markets. Folk economics leads us to disdain excessive wealth, label usury as a sin, and mistrust the invisible hand of the market. What we do not understand, we often fear, and what we fear, we loathe.
What we find also, too, is that people are paid far lower at the conventionally managed companies. At Walmart, for example, workers receive about $11.50 per hour with no benefits. At high-involvement Costco, they earn about $16 plus benefits plus training. But what we do find in these companies is that at the high-involvement companies, the workers tend to be 2 or 3 times more productive.
As we develop, as we grow as human beings, we have a decrease in narcissism and an increase in caring and consciousness. And human beings tend to move from egocentric to ethnocentric to world-centric. Of course, most humans probably are at an ethnocentric, identifying with their tribe or their nation or their religion, but few actually can embrace identifying and caring for all of humanity, and even fewer can go beyond that to begin to care for animals, sentient beings, and all life forms.
The empirical record is quite interesting, and for a libertarian, it should be quite shocking. I mean, it looks like in technology, where universities and governments are much better at public relations than actually doing the work. Let's take medicine, all right? Let's take medicine, okay? The biggest discovery that we've had against cancer came as a side effect of mustard gas. And the incident was classified. It was 1945 off the coast of Bari in Italy. And that's how chemotherapy came about. Okay? That's the biggest discovery we had in the war against cancer. In 1971, Nixon declared the war of cancer. We've had the NCI, National Cancer Institute, 25 yards of funding, 168,000 compounds were tested. What did they get? Close to nothing. Most of what we discover seems to be by accident, organically, through simple economic life, not even greed of agents. Just we stumble on something.
They do not understand the dynamics of what happens when people are allowed to use freedom in a dynamic way and pursue their own interests, as is going on in China today with 1.3 billion people. We're living through right now in Asia is a boom and not a prelude to a bust. We are looking at a whole new paradigm, and we're just beginning to understand its impact.
We had another one where California teachers, instead of getting tenure after 2 years, would get it after 5 years. Boy, that's a hardship. I mean, California has the highest paid teachers in the nation by far, and yet we have the second lowest test scores in the nation, which really irritates me. If you pay the teachers that much, at least we should be able to beat Louisiana and have the lowest test scores.
What they wrote in there was a principle about natural rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And one of the first issues of grievance against the king that they put in here in this document, risking their own lives in violation of the king's law, was to say the king has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither.
So the dilemma of the libertarian is, if you can intervene abroad to secure liberty, should you do it, or should you abstain in the name of a non-interventionism that would undermine the promotion of liberty abroad?
I consider it a shameful thing that this subject even has to be debated. What the U.S. did was attack a backward, primitive country that had done nothing to it, that used to be a bosom ally of this corrupt government here in the U.S.
But Dinesh, that yes, more and more of 9/11s, there's a threat to our freedom. But it's not going to be a threat from an invasion of a foreign power. It's going to be more Patriot Acts, more Military Commissions Act, more National ID Act, more loss of habeas corpus, and that's coming from our government. And that's what we ought to be concerned about. That's where our responsibility are. If we want to spread our goodness, which I believe in, it should be without force. It should be by setting a good example, having a vibrant economy and minding our business where people will want to emulate us. You can't do it with the use of force.